Good morning. This week's shows have kind of had a theme that is, for some of you, you think, what is Political Paula thinking? Because it's been all about children and keeping them safe. And some of the shows got a little bit of blowback from people who are supposed to be friends. And there was a big argument that took place over homeschooling. So that's what the topic of today's show is going to be. Some people don't agree with homeschooling. And sadly, my friend Mary Beth, who had no other choice but to homeschool her child in order to keep her safe from bullies that made it impossible for her to get a good education in her public school, and actually makes it impossible for her even to go outside and play in her neighborhood because these bullies live in her neighborhood. She really didn't have a choice, but she was attacked for it. So here's my take on homeschooling. I used to not be a fan of homeschooling, and this is why. Because back when homeschooling first started, to me, when I heard about people homeschooling, they were doing it in order to isolate their children. Many people who chose homeschooling did it because they were religious fanatics. And I use that word exactly how it's meant to be used. They didn't want their children going to public school and being taught about evolution in science class. They didn't want them going to health class and being taught that they didn't have to be pregnant. If they didn't want to be, they could use birth control. They didn't want their children exposed to things that the parents and the parents' church didn't believe in. And that was the main reason for homeschooling. Most people who homeschooled when it first came out were people who were extremely religious. They didn't want their children associating with Jewish kids or non-Christian children of any sort. Some didn't want their children associating with black children, children of different races, different religions. God forbid they could meet a gay kid or a child who's being raised by two mommies and two daddies. They wanted to isolate their children. And I felt that that was wrong. I did, and it is wrong. If that is why you're homeschooling your children, so that they only associate with people like them, people who believe like you believe and like you want your children to believe, they're going to have a rough time when they grow up and have to go out into the big bad world, and they're going to have to work in the same office with black people, with non-Christian people, with people, with gay people, with people of all different cultures, races, beliefs. They're going to have to do that at some point, unless you're the Duggars. But that's a show for next week. There's going to be a show about that, trust me. You cannot insulate your children from everything bad in the world either. Bad things happen. I know this for a fact because I rarely leave my house, believe it or not. I am very much a homebody. But I have had things happen to me, like an abscessed tooth, like a cervical cancer scare, just by sitting right here in my own house. Bad things can happen to you no matter where you are. You cannot protect yourself from the hard stuff, bad stuff. But it is 2018, and people are homeschooling their children for very different reasons now. It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with a woman that I once heard in a very racist attitude say, oh my God, our church just sponsored an Ethiopian family from like Africa, and those kids are going to go to Sunday school with my grandchildren, and I don't want my grandchildren to think it's okay to marry a black person or date a black person just because they go to our church. Oh my God. See, that kind of bullshit is what started homeschooling. Parents who didn't want their children to learn real science. They wanted them to learn the Bible. Reading and history was taught through the Bible in these homeschooling classes. These children weren't allowed to learn about different cultures, different lifestyles, and different beliefs. Today's homeschooling is very different. Today, many children, first of all, who are homeschooled actually do better than kids in public schools. And let's think about why. We all know that our public school system is underfunded, even though the residents who live in the school district pay an exorbitant amount of taxes. I pay so much in school taxes, I don't even have any kids in the public school system. And parents who send their kids to private school also pay school taxes if they own property in the district. So they take all this money, but I don't know what they spend it on. But it's not on educating our children. Many teachers say that, first of all, they are underpaid, and they are, and that sometimes they have to dip into their own pockets to buy school supplies for their classrooms. As a smart kid myself, when I was in school, I was a smart kid. I used to read ahead because I wanted to know what was going to happen. I loved to learn. But because of my class size, I could only go as far as I'm going to use a term that might not be right, but I'm just going to say it, the dumbest kid in the class. I was not allowed to learn anything more than the dumbest kid in my class. And that held me back from reaching my potential. We had to keep repeating the same thing over and over until every one of the 38 kids in the class got it. I got it the first time. And I'm sitting in class going, oh my God, like really? Like, oh my God, I wish I had like back then an iPhone so I could play like a game or something because I already got this crap. I'm bored. Children who are homeschooled work at their own pace. And that's good for both the really smart kids, and it's also good for the kids that need a little bit of extra help. Because when you've got 38, 40 kids in a class, and you've got one or two that aren't getting it, you only have so much time to go over it and over it and over it before you got to keep moving because you got to graduate these kids. They got to go to the next level at the end of the year. So the smart kids are bored, and the less intelligent, I'll try to be correct, the less intelligent kids never get it and get passed on anyway because they don't have the one-on-one individual attention that they require to get it. They can get it. It's not like they can't learn. But because they have to learn a different way, they need the extra help that public schools cannot give them. The teachers just don't have the time. If Donald Trump has his way, we are now going to add yet another responsibility to teachers, armed guards. Imagine that. Now they have to think, oh my God, there's a gun in the closet. I hope I locked it. I hope, God forbid, if I need to use it, I can cock it. I know what I'm doing. Instead of working on teaching our children. Viewer Linda shared something with me that I put on my Facebook page, and I hope you have had the chance to read it because it will let you know why a lot of parents are now turning to homeschooling. We have all seen Columbine. We have all seen Newtown. We have seen Parkland. What we never got a glimpse into is what these active shooter drills look like and what trauma they put on our very young children. Linda shared this with me. It's an essay by a woman named Dana. And she's a teacher. And she said that they just did an active shooter drill. And she had 1st through 5th grade kids in her classroom. And this one little 1st grade boy, it was his birthday. And he had his little birthday crown on because that's what they do in her school. And he was huddled in her arm, shaking. She could feel his little heart beating. And this was just a drill, okay? But it was so realistic. These children were crying. They were hugging each other. They were screaming. They were terrified. And this was the drill. In Parkland, it was the real thing. In Newtown, it was the real thing. In Columbine, it was the real thing. On this day, those kids were traumatized and terrorized, and there was no nutcase with an AR-15 barreling through their school, killing people for real. It was just a drill. But every time these drills are done, these children are terrorized. And these teachers see it. This is the new normal, as this essayist wrote. This is teaching today in 2018, cuddling your children close to you, your school children. They're not your kids, but they are for 8 hours a day. Feeling their little hearts beating so hard. A little 6-year-old with his birthday crown on. It's supposed to be the best day of his life in school. It's his birthday, his special day. But this is the day they choose to do an active shooter drill. So his birthday will forever be marred by that. These kids go home and they can't sleep that night. They have nightmares. They cry. They're afraid to go back to school the next day. This is what public school is for our children right now in 2018. This is why many parents have no choice but to say, if my child can't learn, this is why you go to school. You don't go to school to hang out with your buddies. That's what you do on the weekends. You go to school to get an education. It's your right, by the way. If you live in a city, the school district you live in has the duty to provide your children with a free public education. An education. Not a horror movie playing out in front of their eyes during these active shooter drills. That's not what you pay for in your taxes. But it's what's happening in your schools every single day all across America. It doesn't happen in Australia because they're crazy people in Australia. They can't get a gun. They can't get an AR-15. It doesn't happen in England because the crazy people in England, and there's plenty of them, they can't get an AR-15 and walk into an elementary school and execute kindergartners like the nutcase in Newtown did. They can't do it. It's against the law. It's against the law for crazy people to get military-grade weapons and shoot up innocent children. But not in America, home of the free and the brave. Not here. So yes, some parents are turning to homeschooling because their children, either because of all the trauma of seeing children their age, seeing their little crosses because they're now buried 6 feet in the ground, their heads were blowing off in Parkland, Florida. Seeing kindergartners blown away in Newtown, Sandy Hook Elementary. Seeing the government not lifting a finger to do anything to protect them, except, oh, let's just put more guns in the schools. Let's give every teacher a gun. More responsibility. These parents are at their wits' end. My child cannot learn, cannot graduate from high school and go to a good college and get a good job when they are terrified to even walk out of the house and get on a school bus. So I get the solution. It is homeschooling. And my good friend, my viewer, Mary Beth, boy, do I love this mother so much. She had a hater on my timeline. And I don't know the woman. She knew the woman who was hating on her. But this woman was criticizing her up one side and down the other. Oh, you're coddling your daughter. Your daughter is afraid because you have an illness. And she sees you sometimes go to the hospital. You know what? Damn straight, Sabrina. That's scary for an 8-year-old child. I was 8 years old the first time my mother ran to our bathroom bleeding all over the place and had to go to the hospital. That terrified me that something was going to happen to my mommy, my only caregiver, because I didn't have a dad to rely on. And I already said in the last show my grandmother was a nutcase. God forbid she would have ever gotten custody of me. There is nothing abnormal about an 8-year-old child being afraid when she sees her mother not feeling well or going to the hospital. That's normal. What isn't normal is an 8-year-old child being harassed, bullied, terrified by her classmates, people who should be her friends, who should support her. who should look out for her because her mom sometimes doesn't feel well. Instead, these kids pick on her. They don't include her. They make her feel like there's something wrong with her, and there's nothing wrong with Panda Bear. There is absolutely nothing wrong with her. And good for Mary Beth for saying, no more. I'm putting an end to it. I'm going to homeschool my daughter and give her the best chance she has to lead a normal life. Sabrina brought up something which I used to think too. Well, one day, these children who are homeschooled, they have to go into the real world. But Sabrina, you made an interesting point that I want to talk about a little bit. You said that when she gets into the workplace, she's going to be bullied. Yeah, see? Have you heard of the Me Too movement? Have you heard that women are fighting back? And that people are not allowed to be mistreated in their workplace? They can sue an employer if they have a toxic workplace? I've actually advised Mary Beth to look into suing the school for not providing Panda Bear with a safe environment to learn, knowing that she's being bullied constantly. This isn't normal everyday kid stuff. This child is being tortured. And her mother said, enough. I'm doing something to protect my child because the school district I pay taxes to won't. That's a good mom right there. One day, Panda Bear, because of her homeschooling, is going to have self-confidence because she's going to know she is smart. She's going to go out and get a job. And if someone in the workplace bullies her, she's going to sue them because she's going to have the balls to stand up for herself. Like she can't stand up for herself as an 8-year-old against the bullies in school. Some of them who are older than her and should know better. Older kids should be looking out for the little ones. Not harassing them, not torturing them, not calling them names, not making them afraid to come to school. They're the ones who should be standing up and saying, I got your back, Panda. I got you. When a school refuses to punish the kids who attack and torture the little ones, I have no problem with Mary Beth saying, I'm done. I'm doing what's best for my daughter. I understand your concerns, Sabrina, if you happen to watch this show. I do. I had the same concerns with people who homeschool for reasons that I believe are to brainwash their children or make sure their children never meet people different from them, to teach them hate, to teach them that black people don't deserve as much as they have, that they shouldn't associate with black people, or that they shouldn't associate with people who aren't Christians. I don't agree with homeschooling for those purposes, because that is what fuels the hatred that actually fuels the bullies in our school. Gay children, gay teenagers are the most bullied and most likely to commit suicide in our nation. And that kind of hate is taught at home and in church. So no, I don't believe any child should be homeschooled so that their children can learn their parents' version of history or of science, or not even learn science because their parents don't believe in it. They believe that the earth was created in 7 days and that we're all related to Adam and Eve because they were the only people that ever had children. That's not why you homeschool. That's why people used to homeschool. But in 2018 America, homeschooling is now a matter of life and death for these children. And not me, not you, not anybody has a right to judge any parent who chooses to homeschool. I will say something to Mary Beth real quick. You know I love you. I support you. I do hope that while you're homeschooling Panda, that you also do get her socialized, that you make sure that she gets to be around kids her own age. And I know you will, because she needs that. But she needs to be around children her own age in an environment where there are adults present, where the children are friendly and good kids who are just going to accept Panda for the beautiful, wonderful kid she is and just have a nice day, a nice outing. And I know you're going to do that. And I will say that, again, we don't go to school, we don't send our kids to school so they can be popular, so they can have boyfriends, or so they can be in cliques, or sit at the right lunch table, or be the best in gym class. We send them to school to be educated. Homeschooling concentrates on education and gets rid of all the other crap that stops so many of our children from getting the education they actually have a right to. Political Paula, out.